I know that during this past year, the Carter Center has been focusing a lot on veterans' mental health with all the wars happening right now.
Right.
Can you tell me about some of the work that they've done?
Absolutely. We held a meeting here in January of this year that was co-sponsored by the Dart Center for Journalism and Trauma and Columbia University Graduate School of Journalism, who's become a wonderful partner, both of them have. And it was held here at the Carter Center, where we brought together journalists, particularly journalists who were located near military installations and are read by families and soldiers themselves, to talk about mental health and mental illness issues. And it was a very lively session. We learned a lot. We had decided, prior to that even, that we would devote our annual symposium to mental health, in mental health policy, to the needs of returning veterans, specifically National Guard and Reserves, because there is a bit of a hole in that system for Guard and Reservists, and we wanted to try to close that hole. As we do in all of our symposia, we spend the year really in a due diligence process to find the best people we can find, to make sure we've got a handle on the issues and what's salient, are the right voices at the table, that sort of thing, and we're right in the middle of that. We also recently participated in a meeting sponsored by the Uniformed Services, University of the Health Sciences, the Military Medical School in Bethesda, Maryland, that looked at stigma, for example, and which we were pleased to see, as a barrier to care.
Among veterans?
Among veterans, yes, indeed. There's always been grave concerns. Will it affect my career if I present myself for care? Will it stop my promotions? Maybe have them force me out of the military? Will I have some adverse action on the basis of my seeking care? So the Army and the military has got a big job in front of them on convincing people that they can provide the care these folks need, and at the same time they're not going to be penalized for having the courage to speak up. What we're finding on the condition side is some similarities to Vietnam, but some real differences. And that's when I started my career as an Army medic treating returnees from Vietnam. What we had were a lot of conditions that are now known, well known, such as PTSD and depression. They weren't as well known back then. We sort of knew what they were. It was often called battle fatigue, or other kinds of names in previous wars, but I think they were looking at basically the same situation. That
very similar condition.
Yeah, people exposed to extreme violence in a repeated way, life-threatening violence, having a reaction. What's different about this war, I think, are several things. One is the multiple deployments, very, very difficult and destructive. We know that in terms of stress, there is a loading dose effect, that the more you get, the more likely you may develop a condition. And that's real important to know. And some of these people are in 4 and 5 deployments. So that's a tremendous strain on these veterans.
And that wasn't happening in Vietnam, right?
Not typically. If you served more than one tour back then, and it was a tour certain, you had 13 months, you very likely would not get another tour. Now, some careerists who saw that as important for their careers might get a second tour, but not that commonly. More were killed in Vietnam, many more, 58,000. Less so will be killed in these wars, but the injuries that people are surviving with now are tough ones. They would not have survived in 1965, 1975. They are surviving today. So they're going to have multiple needs, physical and emotional needs.
Okay. One of the things that we try to do on this program is educate people about some of the warning signs of mental illness. What are some of the warning signs that a returning veteran might have that would tell them perhaps I should seek out some help?
Great question. You can separate it from the regulars and the reserves, because I think that their challenges are going to be a little bit different. Although a lot of it will be in common, so I wouldn't describe that as a vast difference. What returning vets may want to look for is difficulty in concentration, maybe disturbances in sleep, perhaps nightmares, maybe even of a recurrent nature, that they may be experiencing a startled response when they hear a noise out of the ordinary. Remember that in this war, there's no front line. The war's around them all the time. So they're hyper alert. You just don't come home and turn off that switch. So that if that persists, that may be something that you want to look at. Irritability would be another symptom that I would be very concerned about. If you're in a marriage or a stable relationship and all of a sudden that relationship is going sour, if there is any expression of domestic violence, particularly if it wasn't there before, you might see an increase in substance use as a warning sign that, oh, I better watch what's going on here. Maybe I better go talk to somebody.
So it sounds like if somebody was having difficulty with a relationship, with a marital relationship, it really may be related to another mental health issue.
Could be.
Because they're a returning veteran.
It could be.
It's a possibility.
And lots happens when a family is separated for a year or more.
That's true too.
Women take on a different role, even children take on different roles in the family. And all of a sudden this man comes back in the family, or this woman. The more women are serving in theater in this war than ever in our history, and have been exposed to the same things that combat soldiers have been exposed to. So we've got people coming back that have been away a long time, roles change, responsibilities change. It will not be business as usual.
So that's really, aside from the more common problem, which is like PTSD or depression,
Right.
just coming back after being away for a while, just
Right.
reintegrating and getting back to normal life can be very
Absolutely,
challenging.
very challenging. And one thing that I would try to say to the veteran, if he or she was sitting in front of me, was this is not to pathologize this. They've been under extraordinary stress, and problems associated with that stress are to be expected. That's a normal reaction to abnormal life circumstances. So that there's no shame in seeking help for that. But particularly if it's interfering with your ability to live your life the way you want to live it, see somebody about it.
Okay.